Iggy Pop, Underworld, Bells and Circles, From Tea Time, Dub Encounters, an epic collaboration, and one we really probably didn't expect to ever see. And an underrated track from the extensive Beatles catalogue, Tomorrow Never Knows, from the epic album Revolver.
It just blew my mind. Like, growing up, I was like, oh, Beatles just do like cheesy, like cute pop music, like elite, but I didn't know they did all this psychedelic stuff. And I feel like that song like influenced like Chemical Brothers, and you could hear that today. Like, it sounds
absolutely,
ageless.
man. Just like using sitar and such an iconic Indian instrument in such a modern way. And I imagine, and if I'm wrong, PTA.staff, please let us know. But that's not sampled and recorded in sections.
No.
Like, a lot of that is like batch looped live
on tape,
and depending on when it was released, but it's like reel to reel, like it's copied straight to tape, which is just insane.
Yeah.
There would be some layering and stuff they could do, but not a whole lot. So
yeah, George
just
Martin
that level, man, is pretty crazy.
Was a genius. So this is the time where like I think I really discovered David Bowie, and that just is a complete game changer for me. Like, my first tattoo's the David Bowie Aladdin Sane lightning bolt. Just this guy just completely blows my mind about like what is masculinity, and he constantly reinvents himself. And he's another albums guy. Like, I know I'm obsessed with an artist when I can't do their top five favorite albums, and Bowie, yeah, I don't think I'll ever be able to do a top five because he's just so prolific. So the reason why I wanted to talk about Bowie was, so I wanted to talk about my little brother. My little brother's only 2 years younger than me, and he is like a unicorn. He's this like, he's a model fashion designer in Paris. He looks like, think like Hansel in Zoolander, like long blonde hair. He wears like platform boots. And he's killing it. Like, he's living his dream. But growing up, I had to protect him a lot because he had like kind of a more softer, more feminine energy, and I felt like it was a weird dynamic of me wanting to protect him, but then also kind of being mean to him as well, because I wanted a brother I could like kick the footy with and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Like, my dad encouraged him to do a season of footy, and we were both playing for different teams, and all my clothes would come back and they'd have to wash them, and they could take Ty's clothes and just fold them and put them like perfectly in the cupboard, because he shouldn't have. He's
standing off to the side.
But yeah, like when I think of like David Bowie, I think of my brother, just because Bowie was so like flamboyant and colourful and couldn't box him in, and it's been amazing seeing my brother kind of grow in confidence and evolve like David Bowie in a way. So what I was curious to like talk about, like in particular to hear your take on, is like breaking stereotypes, and like for you guys, who comes to mind of like men in your life who kind of challenge that kind of mask stereotype and do things in like a bit more of a like feminine way, or just your thoughts on that?
That was my first thought. It was like really my environment that I've been like working in, spending every single day in for like, 12 years now, is a very masculine and culturally defined kind of environment. And football generally is like a physical sport, physical fitness, physical toughness, you know, there's all those like residual values of like, like you've got to be, because you have to ask a lot of yourself, and you have to be really physically tough, and especially back in the day, it was like almost violent. So kind of fighting and footy. So really there is like, there's a sort of stock level of the way things are, and it's not an environment that lends itself to people who, like you said, like your brother, for example, who maybe has more of a feminine energy. So you get masculinity energy in a massive way. The whole business and system is kind of built off competition, natural competition, and that's how you kind of propel each other to get better. So that's a really interesting dynamic in itself. But one of the stories that came to mind, and I hope he won't mind me talking about it. I don't think he will. But when I first got to the Eagles, I had a first-year coach by the name of Adam Simpson. And he used to play for the Kangaroos. And you know, he was a footballer. He'd learnt a lot, lived a lot. And, you know, when I got drafted, I was an Eagles fan, but I'd gone through high school and it was like, you know, I was doing high school stuff like we all do and wasn't that interested in footy for a long time. So when I got drafted, I'm like, okay, cool. Like the coach is calling me, my head's already spinning. And I pick it up and it's like, Woosha. And he's like, oh, no, mate, my name's Adam Simpson. I'm the head coach of the Eagles. And I'm thinking to myself, Adam Simpson? Like, who's that? I've never heard anything. What do you mean, Adam Simpson? I've watched AFL my whole life. Like, I love AFL. But I had no idea who he was because obviously it was North Melbourne. It was Friday night footy back then was when I'd watch like the footy or what was on free to wear, stay up all night. But and West Coast is what it was all about. And so Adam Simpson was our coach and he stood up in front of the group and sort of said, look, I've been around footy and I've lived quite a life and where I'm from as North Melbourne player, we've had some errors in our culture and some things have really gone south and it's ugly. And so as a coach, as your coach, I'm going to outline to you my values. And he was like, so footy trips back on, I want you boys to be tight. Like unity, I value unity. And you know, as a football team, I need you boys to be like brothers. I want you to bond. I'm all about having fun, but like you need to work really hard too. And we already had an extremely hard working list and a great culture around hard work at the Eagles. And then he sort of said, and because of my sort of past experience, if you cheat on your missus, and he's like, and I'm not talking about you're 18 and you got a girlfriend, you don't know what you're doing. I'm talking about your girl. Like if you play up on your girl, I can't have you. I can't have you. If that woman, your wife, can't trust you, then I can't trust you. If you can't take care of like that most important realm in your life, then I fucking can't trust you and you won't play in my team. And it was like, I've always noted it as really influential on me because I'm just like a kid having heaps of fun, not knowing anything, and to get this man stand up in front of a whole bunch of other, you know, really strong, masculine, really good men who you know are all in the same life, and then someone gets up and says, look, this is the line, this is how you behave. And that's how I roll. And I was always very powerful for me to be like, wow, okay, sick. All right, there's the template. That's what you got to do to be a good man, and everyone could fit into that, and it worked.
Beautiful.
Does that?
It does.
It's
because
a bit different.
He's challenged that whole. When he speaks about loyalty, guys are always like, yeah, don't dog the boys, you got to be loyal, but he's doing it in a more positive, healthy way where it's like, I want you guys to care about each other, but I also don't want you like disrespecting your partners or yourselves.
Yeah, for sure. And it wasn't really about feminine energy or anything, but it was like in a sports environment, someone to be like, all right, this is how we roll. Like, you still need to be a good person. It's not the end game here is not just weird. It's like you needed to be a good person, a good man, and it was through his own experience, which he'd tell plenty about. So I always felt like very grateful to have had that on reflection of where I am now with my beautiful wife and all the things that I've to be so happy for in a family, you know. But what about you, man? I went for a while then.
That was epic, man. Thank you. Immediately, and through this project, I'm starting to realise that my friend Chris, who I played in bands with, is actually like one of the most important people in my life. And we still chat. We sometimes catch up or go for a run or talk about beer or whatever. Talk about beer. Context, I work for a brewery. He really likes beer.
I'm a bit of a craft beer wanker, so yeah, that's
mate,
fine.
we'll have beer after.
Yeah.
I clearly remember like he would, you know, he's wearing tight jeans and he'd sometimes paint his nails, but then he'd like go play soccer and just like kill it. And then he'd be like, you know, chatting to the chicks, and then he'd be so polite to his mum, and he was just so cool. And we're in this studio space, and I'm with this guy's producing our record, and he was gay, and I'm probably like 15, 16 at the time, and I'm just using that's gay as throwaway comment. That's gay. And he never really said much, didn't call it out, but I said in front of the producer, I was just like, that's fucking gay, and he was just like, don't say that. That's it. Enough. And I was like, and then I made the mistake again, like. And it's not in a hateful way. It was just lazy.
It's a culturally conditioned way, right? Like a social.
They use it as slang, like something shit. It's
just
gay.
but like that's so lazy. And in that moment, I was just like, I'm never doing that again. That's actually so disrespectful. Maybe he could understand, but it's just like, no, I shouldn't have even put him in the position where he would have to be like, no, I don't want to. Like, it's okay. You can say that. That person shouldn't even be in that position. I should have enough respect and a greater understanding.
Was it Chris calling you in, or
Chris to
beautiful.
protect his mate, and he was like 15 years older than us, this record producer, and Chris was just like, nah, dude. Chris was 2 years older than me, and was just like, no. But then he was also like this awesome soccer player and this great musician, and was just like, yeah, you're you, right? But you're standing up for the right things.
Love that. Same thing happened to me. I was using those words like, oh, that's gay. And my auntie was like, what are you doing? Like, family member's gay. And it's her brother, my uncle. And I just felt so ashamed, not because he was gay, but because he was like the coolest uncle ever. And I hated that I was using that word.
Yeah, making them feel bad, but just through pure laziness. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So like that I really relate to that story. And boys still use those words all the time, but they kind of frame it up in different ways, like it's zesty, or they hide the language a little bit more. And I was working at an all-boys school a couple of weeks ago, and very masc environment. We're running an activity where you stand up to the front and talk about banter that goes below the line. So some guys will say like, yeah, they don't like racist jokes because of A, B, and C, or jokes on sexual assault because of A, B, and C. And then finally, this kid who I hadn't heard a word from, he almost had like Elton John-like glasses, really quiet, shy, like soft skin. And he gets up and he goes, I came out a couple of years ago. These are like year 10 boys. And he goes, people don't necessarily say direct things to me, like calling me gay, but when I hear it out of the schoolyard, like faggot or things like that, it just makes it feel like there's something wrong with me. And he goes, I know there's nothing wrong with me. Like when I came out to my mates, they almost didn't make a big deal about it because they were like, that's fine.
Yeah,
like
cool.
People don't make a big deal when you come out as straight. So it was just such an amazing share. He wasn't like attacking anyone, but the boys were just completely floored by it.
Yeah.
And later in the workshop where we practiced an activity, taking accountability, some were like, hey, I've used those words before and maybe around you and not directly to you, and I'm so sorry. And that was one of the gutsiest things I've ever seen, like for a year 10 boy to do that in a very hyper-masculine environment.
Sounds like some workshop you're running, bro.
Yeah.
Seriously, that's really cool stuff. I feel like it's an appropriate time to go to some Bowie.
Let's go
for
Bowie.
you, bro, and then maybe you can surprise us after that.
Yep, sounds good.